Welcome back to That One Life, guys. On this episode, as you see, we're going to get rid of that guy, that little pesky dent right there. I'm going to bring you along, show you how to do it. So stay tuned. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over how to properly pull this dent. I'm going to show you some of the tools that you're going to need to do this job, and kind of just walk you through it. I'm not going to do, like a completely in-depth, like up in your face kind of thing, but I'm going to show you how to do it the right way. That way you guys have this information. And there's a couple of tools that I'm going to show you that are going to make your life way easier when you have to pull a little dent, because this little dent's been in here for, I don't know, a year or so, and I just haven't had a chance to get to it, and it's, it bothers me so. So we're gonna take care of it today, and you guys get to learn something. Maybe I'll learn something too, huh? So let me show you this real quick. Let me get you out of here real fast. I'll show you something here. Okay, as you see, this was part of a wall. Yeah, you heard me. It was a little short wall. My buddy kind of had a boo-boo, kind of backed into it. And you see it's got this little crease in here, right? And then if you look closely, I think you can see right here, see how it's bulged out? Now most people would think that the dent, right, is just right here. It's not. The dent on this actually goes all the way up here by the headlight and comes all the way down here and around the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean this whole surface off, and we're going to use a stud puller, and I'll show you what that is, a stud welder. And we're going to start applying force on here and using a hammer on the outside, and we're going to relieve the tension on the outside so that this can pull out. That way there's a very small amount of body fill that has to go on here just to cover it up and make it good. So anyways, as we pan over here, this guy here, this is a stud welder. And what it does, let me open this up real fast so I can do this with one hand. These are the little studs. And this welds these studs, right? As you see, this one's kind of a big one. But as you see, it'll weld the stud right along this crease and around the outside of the crease, okay? That stud goes into this dent puller, right? Focus, you turd, focus. As you see the hole on the end right there, okay? Goes in there, you slide the hammer back, and it allows you to have something to hold on to, right? While you're pulling on it, you're gonna be hammering around the dent. I'll show you guys. I didn't have any good stuff, so I'm using some Bondo, whatever, body filler. I am not sponsored by anybody here. This is just kind of what I had to get in a quick hurry. I really like these kind of pads because we're on a curvature, because you can kind of, you can bend it, you can flex it. Something to spread the filler with, right? This is just a blank piece of board, but it makes a good platform for mixing your filler and getting that all taken care of. I don't really want to run a DA because it's so loud, and we're just going to use this for now. I'm just going to use this to knock it down, and I'm going to use these right here, these guys, for all the fine tuning work. This, of course, Phillips head, that's for pulling out the tail light, so I have access to everything. A couple of different hammers. Now these things are old. I got these from my friend's dad, who used to be a body man many years ago. So the quality of the hammerhead is amazing. They just look like they've been around since, the Titanic. But that's okay. They still work good. This end right here is for tapping down your edges, right? Same thing with this guy here. This is for any of your high spots. You tap that in. I'll show you how to do that, because I'm sure we're gonna wind up with it. Flathead screwdriver for opening up the can, and of course for cleaning the surface. We're gonna go with 80 grit, and the reason why I do 80 grit, I know it's kind of rough on the metal, but it allows the filler to really have something to bite into. So that's kind of where we're at on that. So anyways, I'm gonna get you guys all set up, and let's see if I can do this without giving you all vertigo here. All right, I'm gonna see if I can't get you guys set up. I'm gonna bring you down here a little bit. We're gonna get this all cleaned up, and we're gonna go through the process of getting it done. So let's just get after it, huh? So if you guys got any questions or comments or anything like that, or about doing this kind of stuff, you know, don't be afraid. Send me a comment or something in the comment section. Send me a question, and just ask me, and I'll be more than happy to help you. So what we're going to do first is we are going to take the tail light out of the vehicle, which with Chevys, you know, it's really easy. All you have to do is a couple little Phillips screws. So I got this for, and they come right out. And obviously we're not going to be painting this, guys. So it's just going to be done kind of rough. Here we go. Just take these out. Wow, these guys are really in here. There we go. Oh, brother. There we go. Just like that. So these have been in here for a minute, and the seals were all stuck, and I want to be gentle. I don't want to break any of the connections. What we'll do to keep all that safe is we're just going to put that right back in the back of the truck. Good to go. We'll move this stuff kind of up out of the way. That'll work. And then as I'm looking at it now, I can see that this edge isn't quite as round as it used to be. So we're going to do some pulling on this and try to get this thing back into shape, huh? So step number one, I'm gonna bring you a little bit closer so you can see, maybe. I don't know if I really want to get sparks and dust all over my camera. Anyways, we're gonna get this all cleaned up real fast, and I'm not gonna bore you with that. We'll be right back as soon as I get this cleaned up, all right? All right, guys. It was gonna get loud and obnoxious with the air compressor going. I still have to run 220 in here because, you know, we've only been here for a year. I need to run 220 from the box. It's dedicated to go over to my 60-gallon air compressor. I just haven't had a chance to do that yet. So I'm running on my little baby guy, and it's obnoxious and loud, and I just didn't want to put you guys through that. So anyways, so I got this all cleaned up, as you see right here. And then you notice I went out a little bit past where the dent is, but now you can really see the dent, right? And the idea is you want to look at where the dent is, and you kind of want to recreate what happened backwards. And you have to use a little detective skills to look at that. So obviously the first place that it hit was up here, you know, where the crease is. So I'm going to take the stud gun, as you guys will see, and I'm going to start putting studs on either side of these right here. And I'm gonna try to get the dent to come up just a little bit. And as soon as I get it to come up a little bit, then I'm gonna start pulling on it at the same time and hammering this edge to get this to round back out, back to some kind of a shape. Because if you don't know anything about metal, you know that metal that's been stamped and formed and things like that, it has a memory to it. So once you start pulling on it and relieving the stress, the memory of the metal starts to take over, and it starts to, you know, come back to the shape it originally was. So let's get this all set up real quick, and I'll show you how to use this stud gun. All right, now the stud gun that I use, is one that I actually got from Harbor Freight, and you could buy the same one. I think they're like $100. They're pretty inexpensive, and they tend to work pretty good. So let's get my fingers to work here. Good Lord. Come on. Okay. All right. Now I figured out how to open a bag. I'll take our studs here. We'll plug in our stud gun. Oh, the older you get, the ground seems to be getting further away. All right, we're plugged in. Now what you want to do with a stud gun, okay, you slide it in the end of the tip like this, right? You see in the tip? I'll show you. See the tip right there? And then you put it where you want it, and you only hold it for a second or so. Just like that. That's it. As you see, it's held. We're gonna put a couple of them on there, and we're gonna do a little bit of pulling on it. These things are really good because in certain circumstances like this, you know, when you really don't have access to the panel behind to get something in there to hammer on it or whatever, these things allow you to get in here and pull on these dents without having to reach behind. The only thing you have to worry about is when you're using these is it gets really hot on the surface and it gets really hot on the backside because it is welding it. So what you have to worry about is that you have something that might be flammable on the other side. So you always want to check that and make sure. And all you do is you take your little guy here. See, it's got this roller on the end, right? And we're gonna start up here. You pull that roller back towards you, and then you just that dent's in there pretty good, guys. There we go, she's starting to pull. Just like that. Now I'm gonna start trying to get some on the crease. Now that I got the metal to actually move, and we're gonna see if we can't pull this sucker out. And when you're doing this, don't go like, you know, full gorilla on it. Just little taps to get it to move. Because when you go really crazy with it, what happens is you just wind up ripping it right off, and you don't want to do that. And it's kind of a time-consuming thing, but it's still faster than the old-fashioned way. It's about halfway out already. Oh. Like I said, the ground's getting further away, guys. Come on. And you're just gonna work it back and forth until you get it where you want it. All right, we gotta clean it up again. Just a little bit. Because, you know, like when you're welding, things get dirty. So yeah, we got about half the dent out, basically. Man, it just doesn't want to stick, guys. There we go. And you know, the other thing is you don't want to over pull it. So you don't want to, when you're doing this kind of job, you don't want to over pull the metal, because then you got to heat shrink it. You see if I can't get behind there at the top, because I can't get in here to this crease. So let me see if I can't get back here real quick. Let me see. I might be able to reach that part of it anyways. You know, and this is kind of funny too, right? Because bed corners seem to always get damaged. I'm gonna use a pry bar here. See if we can't slightly massage this dent out. Oh yeah. She's coming. Oh yeah, look at that, guys. All right. Now let's see if we can't get this nasty guy out of here with these. And I just pop that all the way out. Now I just got to get this crease out right here the best we can. Oh man, that's solid. That's not. That came right out. Now now that I've pulled this a little bit, we're gonna take our hammer and we're gonna go around the edge and kind of massage it a little bit. There we go. Let's try to get another pull on it. I don't know if that bit in hard enough. Nope. You want to fill with your hands. There's a spot right there that could definitely come out. That came right out, guys. There's another spot down here. So let's talk for a second. The reason I'm doing what I'm doing, a lot of people, I'm sure you've seen them, they just mix up some stuff, right? Some goulash. and they put it on here and they just wipe it on and sand it. And that's cool, that'll work for a temporary fix if you're just going for looks. The problem is when you have that much Bondo or filler or anything like that in that spot, you know, you take a risk of the fix actually cracking or falling off, and then you got a whole different mess on your problems, or mess of problems on your hands. So anyways, I can't speak tonight. Ooh. So anyways, so the idea is to get the dent as far out as you possibly can. And if I actually had, there's a different machine, not like this one, there's a different machine that actually goes in and you can weld all along the seam. You can make body lines with it, this and that, and it'll hook to it, and then you run a rod through it and you pull on it. And I don't have that machine because that machine is like $2,000. But it is far better than what I'm using. So I just want to talk for a moment and talk about that. So the reason why you do this is so that the filler that you're going to use, or whatever you're going to use to cover all of this stuff, it's so that it's really thin. I mean, you want your filler to be, you know, less than 1/8 of an inch deep at the deepest. So, I mean, and that's a lot. So if you pull the dent as far out as you possibly can, like I'm doing right now with these cheap tools, like I said, $100 at Harbor Freight, and you pull this dent out as far as you can, right? When you go to skim your coat on here, it's going to be very, very, very thin. It'll probably never crack. It'll probably never fall off. You won't have any of those issues. Yeah, man, it is hot in here. It's like up to the 90s, guys. It's getting warm already. Woo! This dent's almost all the way out already, guys. You know, like I always say, don't be afraid to try something. Don't be afraid to do something. I'm just doing a quick fix. If I was doing this for like somebody else and it was supposed to be show quality, you know, I would spend a lot more time on this. I would probably weld these on individually in places that I want instead of using the stud machine. And I would put more force behind them and pull on them harder while pushing on the backside. And I would actually form this and I would clean it up so that you don't really have to use any filler, because if you know what you're doing, you can actually fix this kind of dent that I have right here. You can fix this without using filler. It takes a really long time. And I don't know. Maybe if you guys want to see me do something like that, I have no problem doing it, but I don't know if you really want to sit down for an 1.5 hour video. I'm just saying. I don't think you guys really want to sit in for an 1.5 hour video, do you? A low spot right there. Pretty much got it. I know I haven't been talking much on this one. I'm trying to focus. I don't want to be burning holes in the metal, because this thing will burn holes in the metal. So I apologize, guys. There's one more spot there, and one right there. she's coming right along. The memory is starting to come back to the metal now, and it's starting to work itself out. I just love when things actually come together like they're supposed to. All right, watch your eyes. One spot right there. All right, guys, as you can see, most of that crease is gone. Now, I can't get it all out right now. I mean, I could maybe if I sat here forever and, you know, and worked the metal forever. That's a high spot. Not anymore. And if I sat here and I worked the metal forever, it would come out perfect. But like I said, guys, I don't think we have an hour and 45 minutes to do that in a show today. So the basics is you want to get everything down to bare metal, right? As you saw, clean it all down to bare metal. Get you a nice stud puller, something like that. Weld something to it, like a nail or something if the dent's small enough, and pry the dent out with either a slide hammer or, you know, some kind of a force. And you want to pull that dent out as much as humanly possible. And as soon as you get that dent out and you get it all cleaned up like it is right now, then it's ready for some surface. We'll get everything skimmed, and we'll get everything sanded, and we'll go from there. So let me get this all cleaned up. I got this big mess here. Let me get this mess cleaned up here, and I'll bring you back as soon as we're ready to start skimming. All right, guys. Now that the big part of the dent is pulled, let me show you. As you see, it's all round again. Doesn't have a big crease in it anymore. It's still a little rough, but that's why we have lightweight body filler, so not really a big deal. And it's going to be a really, really thin skim. I don't know, maybe a 1/16 of an inch at the deepest point. So it's going to be good. Where we're going to go now is we're going to mix up some of this lightweight body filler. Let's open this up. I'm sure this stuff smells lovely. If I can find my stuff here. And when you mix this, I'll show you. When you mix this stuff, you really want it to be as, you know, you don't want any air pockets or anything in it. So when you lay it over, you want to be real smooth. You want to be calm with it. You don't want to just, you know, go crazy with it because you'll wind up with all kinds of air pockets in it. Then when you're sanding your filler, what you'll find is that you'll have a bunch of little holes in it, and you got to go back with glaze and all kinds of other stuff, and you're just adding more steps. So I'm going to show you how to do this the easy way. Take your little spatula. get some of this and just get about what you think you might need. I think it's probably more than enough right there. Okay. What you really want to do is you really want to knead this, right? So that you get everything mixed up really good in the hardener. And then you don't need a ton of this stuff. Don't put a ton of it on. It'll dry too fast on you and you'll hate life. So what I normally do is if there's I usually use a bit of, a spot that's about this big, right? About, let's say, golf ball size, right? And you just take this and you just put one line across it. That's it. You're done. That's all you need. And then you mix it up really good. I'll show you. So here is what I'm talking about. As you see, little tiny bit of hardener, lots of filler. And then you take your guy here and let's face you down. Oh boy. And all you do with this stuff is you take it like this and you put it behind and behind, behind, and then you scoop it up just like this, and then you put pressure in it. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to keep all the air out of it as much as you can. You don't want air in this stuff. And as soon as it's all one steady color, then you guys can start applying it. The smoother you can lay this stuff down, the better you are. And I know, guys, it looks like there's a ton on here. There really, really isn't. Most of this is all gonna get sanded back off. You wanna clean your edge. You don't want anything on your edge. I'm just taking a little excess off here. And you might have to do this a couple of times. And that's basically it, guys. That's what you're looking for. You just want some nice coverage. And we'll probably have to do this, 2 times. And then it'll be ready for primer. All right, guys. So now the first step of this, now that you scratched it to see where we were as far as the drying process, I'm gonna take our 80 grit sandpaper and we are gonna form it now. Knock down all the excess. And when you're sanding, you don't want to go in a straight line, you want to go diagonal in different directions. Okay, as you see, we've gotten it really fast down to a kind of a shape that we want. So you can see right here, where let me show you so you can see a little better. See here, there's some dark spots right here, okay? That's where there's low spots. So I'm gonna feather everything in the best I can, and I'm gonna get it to the point where I need to make a decision whether I'm gonna add more or I'm gonna keep sanding. And that's the trick to this. Because if you keep sanding, you're gonna sand yourself all the way out of what you just put on here. So let's see how far we get with this, huh? Now, you run your hand across here and you can feel that I still have a bit of a low spot. There's a high spot right here. high spot is gone. So I got a low spot right here, right guys? And I got a high spot right here. You can see where it's starting to come through right here, right where the metal is. Okay, so you can see that it's starting to come through. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna lightly skim this again with a very small amount just to cover this top section right here. I'm gonna knock this in a little bit real quick, and then we have probably one more sand, and that's it. You know, that's the basics for body work. You know, you wanna get everything is, you know, back to as close as the dimension it was, put a small skim coat of filler on it, and you know, then all your final work all comes from doing primer and blocking, and that's a whole other subject. We're not gonna get that far into this. We're just gonna get the major part of the dent, the boo-boo, we're gonna get the major part of it gone. So let me grab something, we'll knock this in real fast, and we'll mix up some more and get back after it, huh? That's it. That's all you need. So let me get this all mixed up, and then I'll bring you back as soon as I'm ready to apply it. Okay guys, got our stuff here. We're gonna slowly put it on. And like I said, the smoother you can make this, the better off you are. Ooh, that's a little much. And you know, the only way I can tell you is, the only way you get better at something like this, right, is spending time doing it. You know, like anything else, you know, you get a feel for it, right? That's really all it takes, guys. You know, don't be afraid to try things. You know, you don't, you're not always gonna hit it right out of the park, you know, immediately, right when you, right when you get started. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, you know, there's no reason why you guys can't give this a try. Save yourself some money and, you know, have a little fun and, you know, fix your car up. So we're gonna let this set up and cure. This is the fast drying stuff, so it takes about 15 minutes or so. And as soon as this stuff hardens up on me, I'll bring you back, we'll reshape it, we'll do our finishing touches, and then maybe we'll put a little primer on it. What do you say? All right? I'll see you shortly. Okay guys, so it's all nice and dry now. Let's do our final sand, huh? Like I said, you want to go cross pattern and try to make it as even as possible, and then we'll feather everything. I'll show you that. And then maybe we'll squirt a little primer on this thing and get it covered. All right, let's move to a different grit. Now we got our basic contour and our shape. A 180. And then you want to fill around and see if you can fill any spots that feel kind of, you know, anything that's not quite right. You know, like high and low spots you can feel with your hand like this. And once you get it to about where you want it, like I said, it goes by quick, guys. You want to follow the contour of the truck, car, or whatever you're working with, so that when you're sanding, it always stays nice and flat and it brings everything together. Like that feels amazing right now. Oh, it's so much better than that dent. You guys have no idea how bad that dent's been just plaguing me. All right, now we're gonna move on to a 320 grit. The other thing that's cool about these sponge type is you can sand wet or you can sand dry with these. These things are amazing. I like them. Lots of companies make them. 3M makes them. Everybody makes them. And they are worth having. They're good to have in your toolbox. And all we want to do is we're not looking to pull a bunch of surface out. We're just looking to take all the finer, all the deeper scratches out with this so that we have a good transition. And still, that's a little rough right there. It's a little much. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to feather this in right along this edge here, because this edge here, which you can't even see, I'm doing such a great job at filming, guys. This edge right here, as you can see that transition, I can feel with my fingers, which means if you put paint or primer or anything on it right now, you will see that. So, like I said, the idea is you want it to be as smooth as you could possibly make it. Just like that, guys. Feels nice and smooth. And then I'm going to take this guy, I'm going to feather this edge in real quick, real fast. Just like that. And now, I don't even feel it. So rule of thumb is if you can't feel it, right, then you won't see it. Now realistically, like I said, this is just a quick fix because this truck's gonna get a paint job eventually. So this is just a quick fix, just to get rid of that hideous looking dent that was right here. And realistically, what you would do from here is you would take this and you would sand it out one more time. You'd put primer on it, okay? And then you'd put a guide coat, whether a powder guide coat or a spray paint guide coat, something like that. And then you would continuously block it until all of that guide coat is gone. And then you have a nice, smooth, flat surface. Then you put a sealer on it, and then it's ready for paint. So yeah, let me grab something real quick and we'll be right back. Okay guys, I got this big mess cleaned up. That's the thing about sanding, body filler, is that stuff is real fine and it gets into everything. It's like silt. I am still kind of covered in it, but it's what it takes to do something nice to your car sometimes. So now I'm gonna take this Duplicolor prep spray, which is grease and wax remover, and we're gonna wipe it all down and get it ready to put some primer on. Good grief. So let's do this. See why you do that? Look at all that. That's after I've already blown it off, rubbed it off, all of that. So we're gonna do this a couple of times because this is it's still kind of dirty. It should be good enough to throw some primer on it. So anyways, real quick before we get to the primer, I just wanted to say, you know, like I said before in my last video, I really appreciate, you know, all you guys following along and chiming in and leaving comments and kind of trying to participate and be, you know, part of what we're doing here. And I appreciate everything everybody does. I really do. So don't be afraid to like and subscribe, and never be afraid to ask a question or leave a comment. Is this the absolute only way and best way and every way to fix a dent? Absolutely not. But this is the way I was taught, and this is just, it's kind of how I'm showing you. You know, you pull the dent out as far as you can, you try to smooth it, you put some filler on it, you know what I mean? You smooth it all out, you follow the body lines, curvatures, make sure everything is flat, even, and then you try to get all those deep scratches out from the 80 grit. So you keep stacking your sandpaper all the way up to like 400, and then you primer it, right? And then you would block everything after it's done with a guide coat. Once you don't see the guide coat anymore, it's flat. Once it's flat, you put a sealer on it, you put your base coat on it, put your clear on it, and then you wet sand it with 1500 or 2000, and depending on how rough it is, and you you know, you buff it, and you're done. So those are the stages to go. Where are we going? Somewhere in the middle. So like I said, the whole truck kind of needs a paint job, so we're not gonna get crazy. I just want to get rid of the big dent. You guys have no idea how bad that dent has just been, like under my skin. So anyways, we're gonna let this dry. I'm gonna grab some primer, and we'll get after this in a second. All right guys, as you see, I masked off a couple spots. I don't want to get any primer. We're going to be using a Duplicolor automotive primer. It's a fill primer that's you know, designed to fill in kind of like small imperfections and things. We're probably going to do 2 to 3 coats, light coats, probably 2 light coats, 1 medium coat. Then we're going to put our guide coat on it so that when it dries and it cures, I will be able to sand it all off, make sure it's flat, and then I can put some white paint back on this thing so it doesn't have one boo-boo spot on it. So let's get some primer on this, huh? And seal it up. All right guys, I'm gonna go ahead and finish the next 2 coats, and then I'll show you the guide coat, and then we should be done for the evening. Like movie magic, it goes by so quick. Anyways, we'll be back here momentarily. Okay guys, as you see, we got the primer done. Man, it took me, with this stuff, it took me like 5 coats. Of course, I didn't load it on real thick, but it still took me like 5 coats. So now we're gonna do our guide coat now. And what I'm gonna use is, I got this semi-gloss black paint. And what you do with this to make your guide coat for when you're sanding it later is you just dust it on. You don't really wanna coat it real thick or nothing like that. You just dust it on, and that allows you to see where all your high and low spots are in the primer when you're sanding it out before you, you know, you put some paint on it. So let's go ahead and get this done, and let's move on because it's already getting kind of late, guys. All right, that's all you do really. You know, I just dusted it on, and that way you got a guide coat. I'll bring you in here, hang on a second. All right, here you go. Here's what it looks like. So, as you see, there is no more dent. The dent is gone. And that is gonna work out perfectly. I got a little heavy right here, but that's okay, because the reason why I did that is I had some really kind of gnarly scratches still in the primer right there, because you know, when you spray out of a can, you don't get the real thick primer. So I went ahead and did that so I can really see when I'm sanding. So anyways, yeah, that is the finished product, guys. So anyways, you know, like I tell you guys all the time, you know, don't ever be afraid, you know, to do your own thing. You know, the only way to learn and to get better at doing this is to actually just get out in the garage and do it. I can show you a few pointers, you know, and the rest is up to you guys to learn. So yeah. So, with all that being said, I hope what I showed you today was helpful, and I hope you can use it. Like I said, the stud welder that I used, I got that at Harbor Freight. It's like 99 bucks, super cheap. As you see, you can see how I used it. It's pretty basic, pretty simple. And the rest of it was just manual labor, you know, some sanding and stuff like that. And always remember, when you're sanding, guys, you want to go in a cross pattern, right? You don't want to do, you don't want to sand in one spot, because then you create another low spot. So anyways, I'm glad you guys came by. I hope you had some fun with this video, and we got some more stuff coming. We still got to put some paint on this thing so that it doesn't look, you know, lopsided. So we're going to do that in the future. We're going to probably sand it all down, wet sand it, get it ready, and then we're going to get her painted, at least the bottom section. Probably not with a gun or anything, because I don't want to do that in my garage. You know, I live in a neighborhood. It's too much fumes, too many things. You know, spray can I'm okay with. So you can get a decent result out of a spray can. You just have to, you know, be vigilant and be patient, because it takes a while to dry, it takes a while to set up. That's all. So I appreciate you guys all coming by and hanging out with me and learning how to pull a dent. So with that being said, you all have a good one.